I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And today we're going to be talking about, they said they want space, but they keep reaching out. I know
Confusing.
that, when you guys are in a breakup, you obviously are probably so overwhelmed and confused, you don't know what to do. And trying to figure out things and navigate through it is incredibly scary and confusing. And a lot of times your ex's behavior is going to be confusing because they're not all going to just cut contact with you. Many times you're going to find that your ex will say, I want space, I need a break, and then they start reaching out to you. And one of the things I've found is that you guys actually wind up getting frustrated and upset, even though that's exactly what you want. I guess because it's so confusing.
Well, yes, I want space. Why haven't you called me back? Yeah.
And when you are going through it, you just find yourself in a position like, well, I don't understand. They told me they want space, and then I give it to them, and now they're reaching out, and I'm talking to them, and now I'm not giving them the space, so they're going to get upset at me. And I think that's one of the things that scares people.
I don't blame them. Yeah.
Is that when your ex is saying, I want this space, you're almost afraid to have them reach out to you because you're afraid, oh no, now this is going to make it worse because I'm in communication.
Well, it puts you in a no-win position. They told you they broke up because they wanted space, but when you gave them space, they didn't want that either.
Yeah.
That's called a no-win position in my book.
Absolutely. But if your ex is reaching out, it's a good thing.
Yes.
Okay? So if they're reaching out after they've said they wanted space, that is what we're wanting to happen. We're wanting your ex to continue to reach out to you. Don't get upset. Don't get sad. Don't get fearful that if you stay in communication with them, that they're going to get more upset. Just let them decide the amount of space that they want. What they're experiencing likely is some anxiety over missing you and wanting to talk to you, and that's exactly what you want to happen.
It's also the ultimate dilemma of the avoidant person. They want company and relationship just like the rest of us, but they don't know how to take it. So there they are, stuck one more time in the middle of their dilemma. Yeah. So
we've got a good email today that I thought would be helpful for you guys, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. This is from a woman in her mid-40s dating a guy around the same age. And they dated for just under a year, and they have kids but not with each other, with different people. Now, she was telling me about his family life, and it was pretty rough. He was basically abandoned by his parents when he was in elementary school. Now, his dad left the home, and then the mom had no interest in raising him. So you can imagine how painful it would be to get close to somebody when your own mother doesn't want to even raise you.
Oh, this poor little boy.
Yeah. Now, according to her, he says that he has that happening to him, the parents abandoning him, has no bearing on his relationship skills, but has only made him stronger and better.
Some people have to define it that way. You couldn't be a human being and not be affected. But I understand. Yeah, some people have to say it was okay, it made me stronger. I dealt with it and it made me stronger. Oh, it made it an awful lot harder for you though.
Yeah. Even she said, I find that impossible to believe, but that is what he says. And
he had to stay tough, I think, to survive.
Yes, but it would certainly affect your ability to have a relationship or connect or trust anybody. I don't care who they are.
Who you are.
I'm not buying it. She said that she had some sexual abuse when she was a child by a family member, and so she has a lot of anxiety. She said she was in a long-term relationship with a man who was physically abusive to her in the past. And she said, I very recently went through a long and tedious divorce from an emotionally abusive man. Most people would be shocked to learn this about me, as I come from a wealthy family and I appear to have my crap together. Ha!
Yeah,
I'm
right?
in therapy and doing so much better, but still have high anxiety and trust issues.
Good for her, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Margaret, what do you think about that? When people, there seems to be a stigma that if you're in a wealthy family, that the family life is good.
Oh, and boy, is that not true. So many of the families that I've seen over the years had their miseries compounded by really abject poverty. But it can also come out of wealthy families as well. And I talked with someone 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, I remember her well, who had grown up in a very wealthy family, gone to very expensive schools and so forth. And she had all the same problems that some of the other people have. I don't think that you remain wealthy if you're that dysfunctional for any length of time. Okay? Because I think eventually your symptoms cause you to stop functioning, but it does happen. And if you look good and you're well dressed and you have a good education, you look like everything's just fine. And this woman was very pleasant and very upfront. She said, I'm a mess, in fact.
Yeah.
You know, sure.
I actually talked to a woman today in California that is in charge of a big component to mental health in the school district and a very affluent area. And part of it is a very affluent area and part of it is a very poor area. And she was talking about how there are just as many problems with the kids that are in the rich, multi-million dollar families. Because it doesn't have to do with money, it has to do with attachment.
How much attention you get and what kind of relationships you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let me go back to this.
You don't come to the community's attention as quickly, however, if you're wealthy. If you're poor and you live in the project and you hit your kid, you're going to be reported right away. If you're wealthy, you can get away with stuff for years longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
She goes on to say, when we started dating, he seemed to fall for me right away. He came over all the time, even though we live about an hour away from each other, and his work has a horrible schedule. He constantly texted and called and told me how amazing and beautiful I was. He still tells me I'm beautiful. You know, that's that lust stage of the relationship where your guys come on so strong in the beginning because you're like a drug for them right now.
Right.
But that doesn't tell you how well he'll do as a romantic partner long term.
Over the long term, yeah.
At first, I was hesitant, as I was in no rush to get into a serious relationship and get hurt again, and often hurt his feelings by not being more loving. In the early summer, we went on a holiday and had an amazing time. I fell head over heels for him. When we returned home, things slowly started to shift, and I became clingy, but I honestly do not think I was that bad, and tried to talk to him about my feelings. He told me to relax and calm down, that I worried too much, and I was out of town for the entire month of August. We talked and texted every day, and he was very supportive. He also came to my home and repaired several things, and told me how much he missed me. However, as soon as I got home, he was really crabby. We had agreed to spend the weekend on the lake and to introduce our children to each other, but he canceled, saying he was sick.
Okay.
I think that the shift in the dynamics was too much for him.
Well, the shift was she was gone for a month. I think that was too much for him.
Well, they were texting every day.
Still.
But then he canceled the trip
Yeah.
when the kids were supposed to meet.
Got it.
So I suspect it may
Yeah.
have been that too.
Okay.
Because now the kids had never met each other.
Right. This was not the weekend to do it, apparently.
Apparently. But I definitely don't think he was sick. Then about a week later, he broke up with me. While literally sobbing, he told me that he didn't think we were compatible long term and that I am not fun. Ouch. That's mean.
I wonder what he means, but anyway, go ahead.
I
You
know.
don't cure his depression. Yeah, go
That
ahead.
he is not a guy who wants less, he wants more. And I have almost always had to make the first move. I guess meaning him. In some ways, I agree with him. I am a trust fund baby, and he is a mechanic. But I don't care about that. So she doesn't care about the finances. Also, while I'm in a very talkative and witty, I am also very reserved and have an amazing resting bitch face.
Oh, I want to see.
I can make him laugh, but I'll never be the first on the dance floor or be able to do karaoke. So I guess I'm not very playful, except in bed.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's a win for him.
You knew that was coming.
We have a very fun and exciting sex life. Anyway, I told him that I would not beg him to stay, and he left crying. That night, he called me on his way home, and over the next several days, he texted and called me several times a day. Then I went to his house and asked him to reconsider. Probably not a good idea.
No, not a good idea.
He really did not say anything to that, but asked me to spend the night. I did, but assumed we were done. He still kept texting and calling every day, and then we got back to dating just like before, as if nothing had ever happened. After about 2 weeks of this, I told him I did not want to sit around and wait for him, and I deserved more.
To decide what he's doing, yeah.
That I wanted a real relationship and that he needed some space from me to figure things out. He said okay, but still continued to contact me every day, and we still dated. About 3 weeks after that, he found out that I went on a date with another guy. He was furious and told me that he wanted to be exclusive. He was sick of the limbo. I said that was fine, but I want to take things slow.
Wait a minute. Who created the limbo?
Exactly. Well, I think she was the one that said she wanted space, but he was the one that didn't really want to commit, right?
Yeah. He was the one who broke up. She didn't break up with him.
Well, like I said, he started getting anxious,
Yeah.
and then his interest level went up. About 2 weeks after that, my therapist told me that I should tell him again I wanted a relationship. I did this and also told him that if he did not see a future with us, there was no reason to date. Honestly, I did not think I should do that, but I assumed the therapist knew more than me.
Well, not everyone would agree.
He said he understood and did not text me for 1 day. Then he reached out again, and we went out about 2 weeks ago, but have not gone out since, nor has he really called.
Really called. What does that mean?
I don't know.
That he texted?
Maybe he did some kind of reach out. I have initiated no contact with him for the last week, but always reply when he reaches out, and he reaches out every day. So maybe he's just doing text messages. But he's all over the place, isn't he?
Well, let's remember that this man was abandoned. Let's remember. See, I think it was her trip that struck it, got it going. Yeah.
I think the longest we have gone without contact is 36 hours. I've told him several times that I do not want to be just friends or a friend with benefits, but I feel like I have to let him wean himself off of me. But when he contacts me, I don't feel like I should ignore him. I am so confused. I have no idea how to proceed. He says he cares deeply for me, but just wants to date and see what happens. Am I selling myself short by letting that happen? I'm afraid that if I completely ignore him or give him an ultimatum, I would lose him. In a way, I've started to try and move on by dating other men, but I'm not sure I should even do that. Well, this one was really back and forth, wasn't it?
Wow. I mean, he is a badly wounded soul. And although he can't, you know, it was all okay and he handled it okay, so he says, he could not handle her trip, is my feeling, even if they texted and talked every day. Mm-hmm. And abandonment is an abandonment to him, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure he felt that she abandoned him. And he would see any potential breakup with her again as an abandonment. But she could end up dealing with his completely unaddressed pathology for a long time before he decides what he wants.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, this is
I don't know, what do you think?
Well, this is a tough one because, you know, he keeps coming around and he keeps giving her some attention, but he doesn't seem to really want the real thing. Or maybe he's not capable of doing it.
Well, it sounds like he panics when he's not in contact with her.
Sure.
But he may not be capable of the closeness because he's been so terribly hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had no help. He thinks none of this is a problem.
Yeah. Yet he doesn't seem to want to say, let's do this, let's be in a relationship.
Yeah. No.
It's like he speeds it up, then he slams the brakes.
When he gets yes, that's well put. Yeah. That's good. When he gets scared of too much closeness, which of course he does because he's not used to it, then if he gets too attached, he risks that horrible loss again. He's all over the place, poor guy.
Yeah.
But she can't go on for years while he cries.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of the behavior that you'll see in situations like this has to do with an attachment trauma.
Sure.
And he had a major one, right? He had both of his parents abandon him, and his mother she just didn't want to take care of him.
How awful.
It is awful.
So she goes off for a month and he thinks she doesn't want to take care of him either.
But he obviously likes her enough that he keeps reaching out.
But that's going to become more and more problematic for her, I think. Because if she can't respond to him all the time because it's all the time and it has no pattern. And if he starts to get angry at her for abandoning him again, that's not going to be a good situation at all.
This is a tough one. Because the attachment injury is so severe, you don't know if he is capable of doing a long-term relationship.
No, you don't. Or how angry he could get if he feels abandoned again.
And that's
I'm a little concerned. Yeah.
You think he'd get angry?
I think he has gotten very angry already. I mean, he doesn't sound like a violent guy or anything like that, but you never know. This is a pretty big bad thing that happened to him. Do we know who raised him after that?
I don't know if it's said.
And he probably says because it didn't affect his life at all. You know, he insists.
Maybe it was grandparents.
Yeah, who knows? That would be if he was really lucky. But if both parents walked out, that's not a really good possibility.
Yeah. But I certainly don't believe his reasons for breaking up with her.
No.
Saying that she's not fun.
No. No, she hasn't been able to cure the hole in his heart, I think. As soon as he said that, because I've never heard anybody say that before. I mean, I've heard people say so-and-so doesn't have the same sense of humor I do, but it sounds like it's her job to bring fun to him. And it's nobody's job to do that. I mean, we all enjoy fun people. They're fun to be with, literally. But it's not her job to be fun. He didn't hire her as a comedian.
Yeah.
And it sounds like she has a good enough sense of humor, and I'm sure all the social graces plus.
Yeah, and she's saying the sex was good.
Yeah.
That they had a great sex life.
They were playful there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that at this point, you know, she's afraid about giving him an ultimatum, and I don't like ultimatums at all. But the way she could say it is, look, I obviously enjoy spending time with you, and I do care about you, and if you want to pursue this as a relationship and be committed and see where it goes, I can do that. I don't want to do the friends with benefits, as maybe she feels used. Maybe she could say, I feel used when we do that, or I don't feel good about myself. And I'm not telling you, you have to do this. I don't want you to get in a relationship with me if you don't want to. But that's what I'm looking for. And if we're going to pursue that, I want you to want that with me. And if you don't, I understand. But that's what I need from this.
That's great.
Right? Because it's not an ultimatum. You're not saying you have to do this or no, you're saying this is what I need, and I completely understand if you can't give it.
Yeah, that's good.
And see where it goes.
And stop calling me every day. At some point, she's going to have to say that.
Yeah. Well,
although he hasn't for the past few.
Yeah. I mean, what would you think at that point she would have to say?
I think she'd have to give him some gentle warning and then stop responding.
And say, you know, like establish what they're going to do first, and then say.
It's hard for me to respond to you when you call me spontaneously every day or every other day. We had kind of agreed to move on. Well, let's make one agreement at a time here. What are we doing?
Yeah.
But I think he can't predict how he's going to feel from one minute to the next.
No, and I get a weird borderline kind of feeling too.
I do too. And that's exactly what I'm saying. The other thing is, I don't know how angry he could get if he feels abandoned again. Yeah. And he's not verbal. He's not interested in looking at his life story. And those things are not helpful.
No. I think she needs to be careful with this situation.
I think she does too. I think she does too.
We just don't know what he's capable of doing.
No, we don't.
In a long-term relationship.
Right. Yeah, no, I think she doesn't want that. I think he can't do it. But what she should do now is her question.
Yeah.
And I like that. She should have a talk with him saying basically what you said. This is what I need. If you can't do this right now, I totally understand. And it's okay if you move on. I won't be upset with you. I'll understand.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But this is a tougher situation. And I don't usually see an ex do this much back and forth,
and that's what's a little,
reaching out.
That's what's a little bit scary. I don't want you, but I desperately do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and again, his unwillingness to even look at this bothers me.
Yeah. You know, I think for her situation, I think it would be good for her to do a Skype call with you.
Probably.
Because you could get a real good assessment of him.
I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah. So I think you might want to consider a Skype call from Margaret on this one.
I would be more than happy to talk with you.
Absolutely. So hopefully this video...
I see your dilemma.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Of course, when you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Margaret is available for Skype coaching.
And I can get you in a little faster these days. I caught up with myself after being on vacation.
Absolutely. Just click on Margaret on the top of the website to sign up with her. Make sure you put a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And we will talk with you soon.